Now, we all know food should be the first source of nutrition, but many of us fall short, and we need to supplement to bridge the gap. And the American Medical Association recently announced that all adults should take at least a daily multiple vitamin and mineral to help prevent chronic disease. So today, vitamin specialist Doug Inglesby is with us. His father introduced the first 100 milligram vitamin C and was one of the founding fathers of the vitamin industry. Doug has continued his father's work and taken the vitamin technology far beyond its humble beginnings. Welcome, Doug, and thank you so much for coming back to be with us. It's great to see you again.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Doug. I always have fun when you're in town.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
It's nice to be here.
Well, vitamin therapies, as they were, have come a long ways. Where did it all start? Give us a little background. You've been in this business many years, so you have a historical perspective.
Well, it started before I was born.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
my family was.
Oh, you're not that old yet.
No,
okay,
not that
go
old.
ahead.
And you know, these compounds, which you rely on getting them from outside sources. Your body doesn't manufacture vitamins, so it was isolated that these certain food groups were necessary in order to give good health and make sure that people were well and didn't get sick and this type of thing. And there are vitamin deficiency diseases like scurvy. We all know the story of the sailors on the deck of the ship with their teeth exploding. And they gave them a lime, which has vitamin C. They became limeys.
Yeah.
And so over the years, different nutrients have been isolated. Your Roger Williams down in Texas had a lot to do with isolating the B complex vitamins. And you know, now over time, you know, certain recommendations are there that have stood the test of time in terms of what do you need to take when you take a multiple supplement. And
you know, another evolution, as it were, when vitamin treatments were first started, they were micro doses, very small. But how has that changed in today's world?
Well, they've gone up. You know, what they found out is that your MDRs, or recommended daily allowances, were set actually when they were putting together K rations in World War II.
Oh, right.
They wanted to make sure that at least they were getting enough nutrients in there that they wouldn't get scurvy or beriberi or rickets or these known vitamin deficiency diseases. But those are the absolute minimums.
And you're dealing with very healthy soldiers at peak performance.
But they were depending on these foods, and they wanted to make sure that they would get these things. But those were minimums that were set. Like
so that was just basically enough to keep you alive, or just above a life-threatening disease.
Yeah, that's all.
Bare minimum.
And so, you know, the research that's been done since that time has indicated that there are really optimal levels that you can look towards, that you can take, that will affect your immune system, your overall health and well-being. And those are usually much greater. Like, I think, you know, 1,666 times the recommended daily allowance of vitamin C is 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, and that's pretty common dosage these days.
Okay, so we've had an increase in dosage in vitamins. Now, another thing, early in the discovery of vitamins, there was a move to synthesize vitamins. You know, we want to synthesize it, industrialize it, make it cheaper, the Henry Ford concept, you know. But I think we've learned, and help us understand, although a synthetic vitamin C will prevent scurvy, there's something special in that that leads to optimal health. Tell us about how we've gone past just the vitamin. You know what I mean?
Well, like another classic nutrient group is bioflavonoids. And bioflavonoids, whenever you find vitamin C in nature, in a citrus fruit, you'll find the kind of the white pith, and this is the bioflavonoids. And this is increasingly a nutrient that you need in order to absorb vitamin C, and it helps the capillary fragility, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful nutrient. And so these kind of extra nutrient compounds are kind of found in conjunction with, so you want the high potency nutrients, but you also want to have the trace nutrients and the phytonutrients, different compounds, along with the high potency multiple vitamin supplements.
Well, so why is it, Doug, that we can't get enough from our foods?
Well, you know, Dr. Sharaskin, who worked out of the University of Alabama, wrote a great book called Diet and Disease, which he traces food from the garden to the gullet. This is the way he put it.
Garden to the gullet.
And what happens is that food now is grown on soils that have repeatedly been fertilized with high nitrogen fertilizers, which will cause the plants to grow, but they leach the trace minerals out of the soil. And over the years, these trace minerals have been lost in a lot of the growing areas that we're in. Then they're picked early because they need to transport them, so they don't fully ripen, and when you fully ripen a fruit or vegetable, that's when a lot of the nutrients come into fruition.
Don't forget they've been hybridized for presentation, not for nutrition.
Right.
So yeah, that too.
Have the right color and that
right
type
color
of thing.
and
And then they transport it, and then it's stored, and at every step you're losing the nutrients out of the food. And then it's cooked. Cooking destroys nutrients. And then people take medicines, people breathe smog, people, there's a lot of environmental factors.
We're not getting enough, or we're not using the nutrients, one of the two.
Right.
So even if I do have a good diet, I just can't get enough.
Right.
okay, we've covered two very important points. Well, three. One, microdoses aren't enough for optimal health. Number two, natural sources with cofactors
Absolutely.
that support vitamins are very. Third point really was depleted soils. Now the next one would be, if I need iron, I'm iron deficient. The doctor says, Dr. Becker, boy, you're losing blood somewhere. Here's a nail to suck on. That's inorganic iron.
Right.
I am not going to get much iron out of that nail.
And you're not going to do it.
No, I'm not, and I'm not going to chew it either. So what I'm getting at, there's a difference between inorganic substances that are hard to assimilate and how nature has prepared minerals.
Right.
And we call that what?
Well, in the industry term, it's called chelation.
Chelation,
Because
okay.
essentially what you're doing is you're combining the mineral with an amino acid compound or preparation or protein. Like
You're making it
sometimes
organic.
Sometimes it's called proteinate, proteination. There's a number of terms that are used. But then your body absorbs amino acids very thoroughly, very efficiently.
Well, we need.
So when you have that in conjunction with the minerals, then the minerals are picked up as amino acids, and they go through the gut a lot easier. They get assimilated into the bloodstream a lot easier. Where if they're inorganic minerals, there's a valence. It's like a positive, negative valence that just doesn't get picked up as easily.
So is this something you do in a laboratory to make your vitamin, or does nature chelate it for us? How does this work?
Well, both ways, really.
Both ways.
Yeah, nature can chelate it for you in the sense that, like in the green foods, you have naturally chelated iron that occurs by the lightweight proteins or the chlorophylls that exist. And then you can also take a protein compound, a rice protein compound, and combine it in such a way with the minerals that it's picked up as protein assimilation. So you can do it kind of both ways, and actually the best way to do it is by having both those preparations available at the same time.
Yes,
Richard,
we
you've
have
gotta
big
share
headlines here. Calcium benefits limited. Study, supplements fall short of stopping most fractures but cut risk of hip breaks for the elderly. We go on here. Supplements containing calcium and vitamin D only modestly protect against bone. No big deal. Doesn't really help that much. That's the headline. And on our local news here in town last night, they really said there's no use in taking calcium. And yet when we read the fine print, go deep into the story or go to the original story, we find that actually 1,000 milligrams of calcium with 400 international units of D increases bone mass by 1%. The drugs can only do 3%. That's all they can do. It decreases hip fracture by 12% in the 60s, or 50 and up, and for those 60 and older, 21%. Now, that's not huge, but folks, remember, there are 300,000 hip fractures in America every year. Reduce that by 20, that's 60,000 hip fractures that will be prevented with a very cheap supplement. Problems here? Let's talk about this.
Well, I think, there's a lot of problems with it. First of all, the controls were very shoddy. Some people were taking supplements, some people weren't taking supplements.
So we don't know what we're comparing.
There was one thing I noticed in there. They said that the ones that were diligent and that said, I did not miss my, because they were supposed to
I was in my routine every day.
I did it every day. Because some said, well, I missed some time. But the ones that were diligent, it was 29, almost 30%.
That's big.
Improvement. So that's a third.
That's
and you're talking about a natural compound that has no side effects.
That's right. And we need
so
for
why
other
not?
body processes, not
but
just
I
bone.
have a question for the two of you.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't ever see Richard tell anyone to take vitamin calcium by itself.
What
are we missing
What's the
here?
point of that?
Remember? Magnesium.
You need the other minerals.
Right.
If you don't have that balance, it's not going to work right anyway.
I think that's a lot of the research came out a number of years ago that when you take B6, for example, when you take it in the B complex, that the effectiveness in terms of the assimilation is 10 times what it is if you take it as an isolated preparation. And so the same thing is true with minerals, the same thing is true with amino acids. If you combine all of those together and you have them in a powder, so you don't have to break a tablet apart. But if you have the natural preparations, the amino acids, the minerals, and the vitamins all together, you're going to get much more benefit out of the calcium.
That's how our foods are. That's how we came to where we are today.
Right. Yeah, you don't have a calcium food.
No, this doesn't really surprise me, but what really surprised me is how callous the press is. And we're talking about lives. Folks, if you're 70 years of age and you break your hip, there's a very good chance you won't survive for one more year. It's dramatic. 40% don't live a year. Wow. It's a serious injury. So if we can prevent 60,000 hip fractures a year with calcium, I'm all for it. Yeah. Well, what about you? I mean,
definitely.
If I'm off on a limb here, tell me.
No, I think you're absolutely saying the right thing.
All right. Doug, one of my first introductions to you years ago was in practice. I was looking for a good multiple vitamin because I was giving my patients these hard-pressed pills. And then I found a powder. And I want you to cover the advantages of going to powders over pills.
And my dad, you know, did very well in that industry and made a lot of people real healthy doing that. But he knew that there were some disadvantages to taking tablets. And the basic disadvantage is you have to add a lot of non-nutritive additives in order to manufacture a tablet. You have to put in a binder to hold it together. You have to put in a flow agent to get it through the tablet press. Then you have to put in a disintegrant, which causes it to break apart. And then, because it's been exposed to moisture, you have to put in a coating agent because I think almost everyone's had the experience of opening a multiple vitamin and go, you know, having that kind of bad. And they used to use starch, but now everybody's saying, oh, starch-free vitamins. Well, actually, starch was a pretty good disintegrant. And what they use now, which is methylcellulose, is not that good a disintegrant.
That's a synthetic product.
And as you get older, and this is a very key thing to probably a lot of your listeners, your digestive tract changes over time. The hydrochloric acid production goes down, and tablet disintegration is based essentially on the hydrochloric acid in the system. So as we get older, when your nutritional needs go up, you know, it gets harder and harder to break a tablet apart. So my dad really wanted to solve that problem and spend a lot of time and research to come up with a way of creating a powder, provided a high-potency multiple vitamin mineral compound that somebody could shake into their juice in the morning and drink, and they would get everything they needed. And that's how we started to do it.
Question for you. Why is it when you take the vitamin, you don't get that low blood sugar punch in a couple hours? It seems to sustain you throughout the day.
It's probably has to do with the amino acids from the rice protein.
The amino acids
that are in there.
Yes,
and the fact that it's available, you know, you're not waiting for a pill to dissolve. You know, you're getting it into your system right away.
Because you feel it right away. You don't feel like a rush, but you feel good.
Right, right.
You know, we've had numerous studies that we brought to you in the news, folks, and that say, today, diabetics, from 93% rate of infection down to 17.
Yeah, that was great.
It's tremendous. Reduction of heart disease, 24% if everybody took a vitamin. Arthritis, I mean, we go on and on. Cancer rates would drop.
There's only one problem that I found in these formulas, Doug. It makes my hair grow so fast I have to get haircuts every 5 weeks, and that's expensive.
Yeah, you know.
Strong nails, it's impressive.
You know, that's one of the most common things that I hear from people is that my hair's growing faster, it's shinier, my nails are growing longer, I'm trimming my nails, I trim them 2 or 3 times a week.
They don't split and crack anymore?
And that's because, you know, when you take nutrients in, either through food or through a supplement, the first thing that's going to go to is the main organs of the body and their skin and this type of thing. But then if there's an abundance, if there's an overage, if there is a free flow of nutrients beyond what you actually need, then it goes to the extremities. And the extremities are your hair and your fingernails. And it sounds funny, but you can look at somebody and you can tell by their hair if they have a vitamin deficiency.
You can.
In fact, they do mineral testing actually in the hair, and they want to test it there because if they know if it's getting there, you got it, and if it's not, you don't. Probably.
Doctors do this with every patient. It's the quick survey. You take a look. Oh, I see a problem coming.
When somebody goes to a doctor doctor, they say the most common complaint is fatigue. And if there's one thing, again, that I've noticed when people take this supplement is that they have energy, they don't fall off at the middle of the day, and they feel great, like you said. The beauty of it, Dr. Becker, is being a powder is you can kind of take it in any way you want. And it's great with kids because you can just put a little bit in their juice. They don't even, so little, they don't even know it's there, rather than giving them a chewable vitamin, which is loaded with all kinds of colors and things like that that they don't need.
Folks, medicines, you can react in any which way. Any medicine can cause any side effect, no matter what the books say. That's how most doctors operate. That's a strange story, but I know medicines, they can do weird things. You know, the research from Eastern Europe is showing people with gallstones have dysbiosis. And the dysbiosis causes the stones, not the other way around. And you get on these antibiotics and it just creates a vicious cycle, and eventually that surgeon will harvest another gallbladder. You know, one thing about weight loss, folks, when you're losing weight, it changes the acidity of the blood. You go into an acidosis, and it can cause kidney stones, and it can cause gallstones. Multiple vitamin normalizes blood pH. That was by design, wasn't it?
Yes, it creates an alkaline environment in the system. Most of your degenerative diseases are caused by overacidity, and most of the diet that people have now are highly acidic types of foods, lots of fried foods. These things create an acid environment. All your cancers start there. All of your, but to take something on a regular basis that's going to help to change that, make a more alkaline
Very
pH
important
factor.
with weight loss to keep that. Well, Doug, you came a long ways to be with us today, and I really appreciate it. And
Thank you so much.
And I want to thank you for...
Thank you.